Hey guys, this is Sabina. Welcome back to Day-to-Day Chess. Thank you so much for following me on YouTube. About a month ago, a little bit over a month ago, when I started this YouTube channel Day-to-Day, I had no idea what I'm getting myself into. So thanks to your support, I'm determined to make out of this a really great YouTube channel for people to have lots of things to learn from the classics as well as from contemporary chess players. If you like this, make sure you share it with your friends and keep following me. Thank you so much. Now, because I promised you after the end of the World Cup, I'll go back to the classics, and I haven't done so yet, I've decided to go to that today. So I've chosen the game between Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch and Karl Schlechter. Before we start going over this game, I would like to tell you a little bit about Dr. Tarrasch and Karl Schlechter and see why they are important names to remember nowadays. Well, Dr. Tarrasch, he was a medical doctor, that was his profession, and he was playing chess probably for fun, but he definitely was one of the strongest chess players and most influential teacher as well of the late 19th century and early 20th century. He's famous because, when actually this game was played in the same year that the World Championship took place and William Steinitz became the first world champion, official one. But Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch, he was leading in the direct encounters with Steinitz. He had 3-1 to 0. So definitely that was a great thing to remember about him. However, he refused to play any kind of match for the world title because being a doctor, he was unable to travel much. So he decided to just focus on playing from time to time and, of course, focus on his profession. Something else I want to mention about him is that he took some of William Steinitz's ideas, like, for example, the importance of the control of the center, or the bishop pair, or how to place your rooks, things like that. And he was able to write about these things and make them more accessible to the public, to the average chess player who was just starting playing and really wanted to learn more and didn't know how. So that's something very important we need to remember about Dr. Tarrasch. Now about Karl Schlechter, he was born in 1874. I know it's a long time ago, but we need to remember that he was a very famous chess player of that time. And he's very much known because he drew the World Championship match against Emanuel Lasker in 1910. So how that match, when it was played, the person who was challenging the world champion had to score 2 points more than the world champion to actually win the title. And Schlechter almost did it. He had a plus, the match ended up finally 5-5, but he had a plus one game and they made 8 draws, and the last game that he was supposed to win, he ended up messing up. Instead of winning, he lost the game, so he lost the title, but definitely a strong chess player. So that's all about the introduction of these two famous chess players. If you want to find out more, make sure you Google them. Everything can be found nowadays through Google. And let's go on through the game. Bishop b5. Normally, everybody's familiar now with this a6 move, right? Entering the Ruy Lopez with bishop a4 or bishop takes c6, the exchange variation. But on those times, Steinitz was very famous, right? I mean, he was getting famous because that was the year that he became world champion. So d6 was played. This is actually called the Steinitz defense, okay? So it was very popular. Nowadays, I don't see it played that often. Now, because with d6, yes, you're controlling the center, you're strengthening the e5 pawn. However, you let that pin stop your knight from controlling d4 square, so now white can play d4. Okay, so here, if we would be trying to talk in Tarrasch words, we would say that black surrendered the center. Now white has the control over the center, and we have 2 pawns, and black only has 1. Eventually, these pawns would get traded, and white will remain with the center. It's exactly what happened in the game. E takes d4 maybe nowadays is more popular, but on that time, bishop d7 was played by Karl Schlechter. Knight c3. Tarrasch follows his own ideas and the ones that he let's not say copied, but took from William Steinitz, finishing your development, putting your pieces on the best positions. Bishop e7, and now he's not sure where this bishop is gonna go, so he's making a waiting move. Rook to e1. This rook to e1 is very important. First we're defending e4, then we're putting the rook on the same file as the king, and then central rooks staying on central files is very, very important. It's something that Tarrasch has talked about a lot. Okay, now black needs to do something in the center, because if not, maybe at some point I might think of getting even more space. So knight takes d4, trying to make sure also he takes with the knight to make sure both the knights and the bishops are going to be traded off the board. Takes bishop takes d7, and now probably nowadays we would see more knight takes d7, so that this bishop in e7, which is stuck by the pawn in d6, would actually get some play with f6, g5, or h4. For example, now if queen d4, just castle, and then we have that opportunity to put the bishop there. Even if knight d, oops, not queen d5, but if white would play knight d5, we can just play bishop h4 maybe, and have some play with the bishop, maybe create some weaknesses, attract white to weaken his position. So that would be something we would play more nowadays. However, in those times they were not as fancy yet, let's say. So Karl Schlechter captured with the queen, thinking I'm making a development move. On those times, it was more about development. They were probably first developing the pieces more and then figuring out how to improve the position of those that were not placed that well. Now queen takes d4 castle. And now basically, as you see, this pawn in d6 is stopping the bishop e7 from doing much. So black's plan is to play c6, d5. Get ready to play d5, trade the central pawn. That gives white this little advantage, and that's black's plan. How about us with white? Well, we definitely want to put the rook in d1, because we know, according to Tarrasch, the rooks on the central squares and also behind pawns are very important. And something else he mentioned is that the rooks need to be mobile, to be able to move around. They need space, so you're going to see why it's important to have them central, placed on the central files. Okay, but where do we develop our bishop from c1? That is the question. Why to move now? So what do you do with it? Do you put it in g5? No, you don't put this bishop in g5. Tarrasch played b3. Oops, I guess I went to move early. He played b3. And the reason you don't put the bishop in g5 is that in g5 the bishop could get traded off quite easily. This knight can just go knight e8 or somewhere, and then this bishop will get traded off. You don't want to trade off this bishop in e7, which doesn't do anything. That's why b3. So the bishop will be very strong on the a1, h8 diagonal, eventually putting some pressure in g7. So very, very good move by Dr. Tarrasch. Rook e8, and now bishop b2. Now we have possibly this threat knight to d5, so you can't trade the knights, which is something black would love to do to get some space for his bishop in f6, because they'll be mate in g7. So here black gets ready in case white is thinking knight d5. He just played bishop to f8. Now, of course, black would want to play g6, bishop g7, but because this knight is hanging, it's going to be very tough. So for the moment, the bishop just stays there to protect the king. And of course, he's going to get ready to play c6, d5. Of course, rook a to d1, always central rooks, mobile rooks. As you notice, the third rank is opened. I haven't played any f3 yet, so both of these rooks can go rook to from d3, or this one rook e3, and then either double on either one of the files, or maybe go to g3 and start attacking the king in g7. Very, very important. Besides, the rooks, central rooks, you see, they can stop any d5. Queen c6, now rook d3. Like I mentioned to you, this rook can come to e3 or g3. Rook e6, black is doubling to try to create, this pin to play d5, but of course white doubles as well. Rook e8, and now there might be some knight g4 threat, so white is just preventive. h3 to stop any knight g4, and also not preparing, but just having some space for the king in h2. Queen b6, are we trading the queens? No, of course we are not, because black doesn't have that much space, so we want to also keep our queen for further attacking black's king. Queen d3, very good. And as you notice, Tarrasch keeps his queen on an opposite color than the bishop, so that the bishop controls the dark squares and the queen the light ones. Very, very important. c6, getting ready for d5. Now, very good move by white. Knight to a4 with tempo, and once the queen left, what was the idea? c4, stopping any kind of d5 from black side. Now, knight d7. Not the best move in my opinion. Black, maybe Karl Schlechter was not sure what to do in this position. Nowadays, we know some plans with a6, b5. When you have the pawn in c6, this is another plan that you can do, and try to open up the position. I think that would have been much better for him. But we went for knight d7. Now, king h1, safe move, preparing to play f4. f6. Although black is closing this bishop in b2 in the same time as closing his own bishop, putting another pawn on black. Not the best choice, but in the same time the pawn in f6 controls e5, so if at some point I'm going to play d5, I'm just making sure you won't be able to push e5. Queen to c2, making sure there won't be any attack. Now knight e5, knight c3, back to control d5, now preparing f4. Now the idea of knight of f6 also was to be able to create this f7 square so that the knight could go there. And that's exactly what he did. The knight in the f7 is protecting the king much better. Also protecting d6. So now we can think of playing some d5 and opening up the bishop. g4, queen to a5. This was a big mistake in my opinion. Schlechter had to play d5. This was the right moment to play it. He's ready, he improved his pieces, he cannot stand anymore white's superiority of having all this space and the pieces best placed. d5 had to be played because we cannot capture with this pawn and try to have, pawn up, because now rook takes e3, takes everything, and now the queen gets active, winning some material here. That is the reason why after d5, we have to take like this, and after c takes d5, well, the knight is pinned, so you need to move the queen, and then these pawns are going to be traded off, and black would just equalize. Unfortunately for him, Schlechter played queen a5, and now Tarrasch is just blossoming here. Rook to d1, stopping d5 forever. Queen b6. Now, we know that breakthrough in the center is not possible. We can work on the flank. h4. Knight e5, threatening g4, well, rook g3. Now you see the rook's mobility. Knight f7, back, maybe I'm threatening f4. f3, quiet, just defending e4, and now I'm getting ready to eventually play some g5. Knight to h8, knight to e2. The knight was not placed that great, we need this bishop open, so when we play g5, the diagonal opens up, and we're getting ready to bring the knight to d4, f5, putting pressure there, and attacking g7. Queen c7, now very nice move, because with queen c7 we might have d5 threat, so knight d4 maybe not be that great because I would play d5. So rook g1, very nice move. We need this rook on the d file to control d5, so that's why he won't try to double. Queen f7, bringing the queen to defense, and now white is just beautifully winning this. Knight d4, attacking the rook. You can play rook e7 because now just knight f5, and if you play rook e6, h5 can come. And then just white is simply so great. This queen can come towards f2, attack a7. Black is just stuck with the poor knight in h8. So Schlechter chose a right move to give away the exchange. Just play rook e7. Said, just take my rook, give me something. But Tarrasch, no. I don't care about your rook. It's stuck there anyways. g5. Opening up the position. Takes. Now rook takes g5. That rook is still attacked. Still you have no place to go. I'm also threatening knight f5 stuff. g6, trying to defend and control f5. Well, sorry, you actually didn't control the f5 square. My knight is coming anyways, you're pinned. Rook e5, in desperately trying something, but nothing. f4, trying to sacrifice the rook. Anyways, I'm threatening there as well. But here, after bishop g7, takes, after f takes g6, black just resigned because I have an exchange up. Your king is definitely under big attack. The knight in h8 is dead and not that much to do. If you take back here, I can just trade the bishops, and I can take here as well. So white is simply winning. I really hope you enjoyed this game. and stay tuned for more tomorrow. Bye!